Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to AV Educate's podcast edition with myself and Austin Jackson. I'm super excited about today's talk. I am beyond excited actually about today's talk because we have an actual labor person here who's going to give you some real good advice about getting work moving forward in the industry in this new hybrid environment that we're working in. As we all know, the goal in our industry should always be to get that repeat client because that is what keeps you going. Again, sorry, I'm going to bring in my co-host and good friend Austin Jackson.
Omar, what's going on? What's going
What's
on?
good, man?
What's
good?
Again, man.
Always a brother. It's good on my end. So listen, you brought in a great speaker today with us. I don't want to brag too much. I know I had some stuff I wanted to say earlier. I'll let you do your thing with your master of words here. But I got to tell you, I'm super excited about this talk. I'm really looking forward to it because it's great when I say something, but when someone who does this for a living says it, and this is coming from like, hey, if you want to get that repeat business, if you want to get that call back, look at these things, right? Do these things in accordance.
Absolutely.
And I'll call you back.
Absolutely, 100%. And I feel like this is one of the crucial parts of the industry that a lot of technicians probably don't pay attention to. And this is one of the things that is crucial to them building their ongoing and their long-term business. So I'm
100%.
super excited for what's going on tonight as well. So without further ado, you ready to welcome our guests?
I'm ready when you are, brother.
All right, let's bring to the table Chris Brown. Chris Brown is actually a former project manager as well labor coordinator, and he's been in the industry for quite a few years, has hired so many techs across so many different platforms, across so many different cities, and he's here to bring you guys his insight and so what's going to get you more opportunities, what's going to get you more chances, more at-bats, so to speak, and it's going to help you make more money at the end of the day. What's going on, Chris?
Hey, what's up, guys? Finally, glad to be on the show. Glad to see everybody again after this, long time off and everything. It's virtual, but hey, I'll take it. So, nothing much, man. Get right to it, right? Like we can get right into it because, like you said, one of the things I learned in college, which nobody seems to think that college matters anymore when it comes to our industry. But one of the things I learned from one of the mastering engineers in my college was that you need to take swings. You need to have at-bats, right, in order to make yourself known. And the biggest thing is when you take that at-bat, it's all about your presence, right? So, and who you are as a person, but also think about the world today and where it's going, where it's been, and how to react to situations that happen, right? So that's what I'm going to touch on some things. You guys are more than welcome to give me your input. Austin, you and I have worked together for a little while now, and so I look forward to this session to kind of give my chance to say, I understand you got the skills, but here's why. Here's why I can't hire you. Here's why I'm hiring this guy or this girl over you. Or hey, great job, I want you on every one of my shows.
Honestly, and that's something that happens quite a bit. And I feel like technicians don't believe that it happens, that you can be extremely skilled at a position and a certain client or whatnot just choose not to work with you because of a certain attitude or something that you're displaying on the show that doesn't fit the environment or the culture that they want to maintain at that point. So I'm glad that you're here to bring that your feedback and your point of view on this topic and let technicians know how they can improve and grow their business.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that in the business world, especially where, the corporate world, I'm not going to speak upon the concert world. I mean, I think this applies to every show. Everyone's going to have their opinion about it, but I think this applies to the more corporate world is culture, right? They're trying to bring a vibe to the show. The first time the truck doors open, they're bringing in the energy. Most of our corporate shows are not. You do have the ones that are, boring, so to speak, and informational, whatever, but you still need to bring that same attitude, right? So that's the first thing I'm touching on is like even though you don't know the client, maybe it's your first show, you don't know the venue, you don't know what you're setting up, maybe your labor coordinator or your project manager didn't help you get those things you needed. Understand you're there to do a job, but when you get there, just be humble that you're there starting off, right?
Okay.
Driving with a good attitude. If you're driving to the show going, oh man, this is going to be a bad show or this is going to be that, and you have stress on your mind already, you're going to open those truck doors with stress and it's going to vibe out to everybody else in the truck on the dock.
Understood. Totally.
And
Totally. And that almost goes back to that old school saying, well, leave your problems at the door, right?
It's the truth. I mean, I totally agree with it. But dude, it took me a while to learn how to do that. I'm 33 years old, but I think in the last 5 years I've learned to do that. Before it was, I didn't. I brought him with me everywhere I went, and that's what, when I became a labor coordinator, I was like, man, you really gotta let that go. And I learned that from other people above me that were working as technicians. And the sad part about it is communication is key, right? Communication is the key to success. But unfortunately, if you've got a project manager sitting on the dock and you don't know who it is, and you're that technician that's like mad because the truck is not up to your standards, or the cases don't look right to you, or whatever little problem I've heard, and Austin, you and I have heard them all. They might just scurry around the corner and go talk to the boss and pull the boss aside and say, we don't want this guy back. Let him work the show, or let him work this one day. And you could be booked on a 2-week show and get booted after the first night just because of your attitude. So I think that saying goes like, you don't know be careful who you work with, because they could be your boss one day, or, vice versa.
Wow. That's a key point that you just touched on, the attitude. That mindset and the attitude that we bring to the table first and foremost. Well, I agree 100%, because that's what sets the mood. That's what sets the tempo for the rest of the day, especially if you're talking about as early as just the truck unload, and the attitude is 100%.
Yeah, I mean, we're working 12, at least 10-hour days, so that's already longer than normal people work. And then 12-hour days, 15-hour days, then they want to do a rehearsal that turns into 18-hour days, and then you're coming back. I get it, and we all get it. Everyone's tired all the time, but you gotta try your hardest just to be humble and stay, just know that you're there to do a job, and that's what they're paying you for. They're paying for your skill set, but also your personality, and I think that's the number one thing in 2020, 21, whatever you want to say, moving forward in the industry after this COVID thing. People need to change their attitudes. This is not a profession that anybody is forced into. You kind of pick this profession, and if you want to make it, you gotta put all the BS aside and just kind of service that client with the best attitude you can.
Understood. Agreed 100%. So attitude, you would say, is number one. That would probably be the first and foremost thing that a technician or anybody who decides to get involved in this industry, if they wanted to bring their A1 game, the first thing that you would say is come equipped with in your toolbox is the right attitude.
Yeah.
Agreed?
I agree. Resumes are one thing, right? And, it's the truth. We do, as hiring managers and stuff, we do read them. We do go through them, but it's a matter of that first impression. And that's with any job. And, whether you're a stage manager, whether you're an A1 or a stage hand, you can't, I can tell you right now, there's plenty of people we haven't hired back after one day. And unfortunately for them, that's just how it goes. It's all about the attitude. I don't want to roll these cases over this carpet. Why didn't they bring plywood, or why didn't they bring visqueen for the floor?
That's funny. That's funny that you bring that up, because I was gonna say, you know what? Let's dive in deep into the dark side now, and tell us about some of the reasons why you haven't. We don't have to call any names or anything of the sort, but tell us reasons why technicians have either been let go early on shows or haven't been called back, or tell us some of those things that they can avoid.
I think the biggest one, there's probably a lot, right? We could go on about all different types of things, but the biggest one is, unfortunately, we all know some of these clients aren't the nicest people. So they do judge right off the bat, right? So we'll put that one aside, because we know that you could get booted just because of your attitude and they don't like the way you walk sometimes, whatever. It's rare, but it does happen. I've seen it happen. We just don't like this guy. He's got to go. And unfortunately, if you're the hiring guy on that show, you're not, you're going to have to figure out a way to tell him. But, like silly stuff, right? Like I said, we rolled up to a show one time, and I was checking people in. It was a big show, and she was on the phone. It was a lady. She was on the phone. And don't get me wrong, we hire all walks of life. You know that. And she was on the phone with her husband on speakerphone, or somebody. I don't know who it was. And she goes, man, it's going to be so hard to push these cases across the floor. And I always try to imitate people. I don't know why, but and she's like, there's nothing on the floor that's going to make this easy. This is really thick carpet. It's brand new. And it's like, well, I mean, what do you expect, right? So unfortunately, the attitude that she had just kind of snowballed into her work ethic, and she was like, well, I'm not, she's a stagehand. And then that turned into, well, I don't do lighting, and I don't do this, and I don't do that. And then we put her on something super easy, and then after 10 minutes, I'm tired, I need a break, you know. So unfortunately, some of those times you get some stagehands and some people that are just like that. And you know, we're in a fast-paced turnaround type show. We just can't have that. We just, you know, you can't have that on site.
Understood, and I agree with you 100%. One of the things that we look forward to in like leadership training is one of the sayings that we say is that the speed of the leader is the speed of the pack. Right. So that's why on teams you have the captain of the team. When we're down 20, he's going to be the person, or she's going to be the person to say, hey guys, let's pick our spirits up. We can still do this, or whatever the case is. The person who keeps everybody in a good mood with a good attitude and constantly pushing on and persevering towards accomplishing this one goal that we came to accomplish. Correct. So yeah, that's what it's all about in terms of the leadership. But if, I'm sorry to say, as basic and cliche as it may sound, one bad apple could spoil the bunch. So when someone comes in there with the negative, my gosh, look at how they pack this truck. Look at how this is done. And I mean, we've heard it all. But honestly, are we really worried about the truck pack? Are we worried about how we're going to execute having a beautiful and flawless show? And how are we going to come to the end of this show? And am I going to create some type of relationship? Am I going to prove myself to the point where I can get hired again?
Right.
So I love the fact that you brought up attitude as the very first thing. So if attitude is number one, let's talk about some other things that technicians could focus on and to do, because some technicians are super skilled but have no personal skills when it comes to clients. Right. And some technicians are great, they're personable all day, but they can't tell you what a PowerPoint is. So, I mean, like, why are you even here? So if you're in that position, let's face it, we all had a day one, correct?
Yep.
So we can't say that anybody is too green or anything of the sort, but somebody has to learn at some point. So if you're going to put yourself in a position where you want to learn and you want to grow, then you're going to want to have repeat business. If you're trying to have repeat business, bringing a great attitude is number one. What would you say is number two, Chris?
You know, I would say number two is, from my perspective, okay, the whole fake it till you make it thing. I understand, and you know, people can judge me for this. I haven't been in the industry for 20 years or anything like that, but I think as a labor coordinator, the worst thing you can do is lie to me about your skill set, right? Okay. I learned early on that one of my mentors told me, know what you know what you don't know, be okay to admit it, and also be okay to ask questions, right? Okay. So if I'm hiring you as an L1 or an A1 or a V1, I don't want to hear I don't know that console, because at the end of the day, it's your job. I feel like, and all my pro guys will tell you that they can run anything, and on their days off or on the plane or wherever, they're reading articles. I see guys do it all the time. All my ones, they've got Pro Sound News, they've got video magazines, whatever it is, they're reading up on all the new stuff all the time, always training. And I know it costs money, but when you get into those roles, you make that good money when you get into those roles, right?
So constantly learning.
I mean, just know your craft inside and out, like just know it. And if there's tools that make it easier for you to do things, then go ahead and invest in yourself. You have to treat yourself as a business. And if you want to grow like any other modern business, whatever it is, you've got to invest in the tools to be faster, stronger, and more efficient. And if
I agree, I agree.
It can get costly, but I know guys that walk around with $20,000 to $50,000 flight cases, that are the size, the Pelican, whatever the small ones are. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I was gonna say
expensive.
Omar is a big advocate in owning
I'm
your
huge on
own
that.
gear, and
Yeah.
But we all know, like, some of those big corporate shows, you can walk away with a good chunk of change every month. And if you do play your cards right, and you know how to handle your money, then you get a lot of breaks as a freelancer, as a subcontractor in this country. So I just think that just because I don't have the skill sets maybe that you do as a labor coordinator, it doesn't mean that you can't bring your best game to the table. When you say I'm an A1, I'm the, and stuff like that. And Sean makes a great point here on one of the comments. I am so tired of people saying
you got a ski wrench,
you got a ski wrench, or you got a Sharpie. Like, come on, just go on Amazon. And this may sound like cliche or childish, but go on Amazon and buy a box of 500 Amazon Basic. I know A1s that travel with their own batteries, that travel with all their own gaff tape, their own all that stuff, and they don't care. They don't complain about it. Is it nice when you show up on site and they have tech boxes and toolkits? Of course it is.
Definitely.
But when you got to walk away from a rig to go find a C wrench or go find a Sharpie just to label that cable, that's 100% crucial. That's just when you're getting paid, $25 to $60 an hour. Even if you're a stagehand, you can. I think you should be able to bring at least one Sharpie to a show.
I agree. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give a quick tip. It's something I actually started showing a lot of the stagehands who work for me is take some label tape. If you don't have label tape, some thin white gaff tape, and wrap it around your Sharpie and go quite a few rolls around it and leave it there, because I promise you, you are always going to find yourself in a position where you need label tape or you need something to either label a mixing board or label the ending of a cable. But the fact that you are prepared and you're equipped for it ahead of time, don't have to go looking for anything, shows that you can execute your job quickly, efficiently, and the first time. It makes you look so much more professional.
I'll add to that too. If you guys are gonna go invest in your own Sharpies, I'm a big component of this myself. Go ahead and buy a silver Sharpie so that when you don't have white tape or label tape and you have only black tape, you can use silver on top of the black.
Yes,
that's something I do all the time. I always buy a box of black and a box of silvers, and I can't tell you how many times silvers have come in handy because I can't get it fast enough, or like Chris was saying, it's not around. So I just take some black tape, rip it in half, and right there with my silver Sharpie, and boom, I get the job done.
Yeah, and I mean, there's nothing like writing with a fresh Sharpie either, So you got one that's all smashed down, you can't really write a console with it.
You just got to remember to tell that guy who you let borrow to give it back.
Oh,
that's always the trick.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Sharpie's definitely disappearing in this industry.
I think they're at everybody's house. I mean, honestly, dude, I have a, Penske, when we dealt with them, I used to do all the trucking and stuff. They gave me like a glass jar full of candy every year. And I got 2 of them in my garage because that's where I dump all my pockets and everything. And it's like, boom, Sharpies. And there's ones that are like really old and ones that are brand new. And I think like, if everybody would just do one day collectively, everybody donate their Sharpies to one big pile and then see how much, like just something silly, but it's crazy, that people don't even bring something to write with, man. It's just
the simple things. The simple things.
I know a Gerber's $40, right? But when you're able to, when you're on strike and you're able to, cut down the all the lighting
back tenfold.
Right,
100%.
And I will say this: working with Austin, I think he calls me and goes, "How are my guys? How is so and so? How is this guy? How is this guy?" As a labor coordinator, I love that, and especially because I like to talk, I'm going to tell people. My ones on show are going to tell me, my leads are going to tell me who sucked and who was good, and that dictates who I call next, right? Hey, Austin, reserve these guys for me next week because they got really good reviews, and you know what? Here's an extra $1 per guy or whatever it is, and all that stuff, man. Just it's going to make you a better technician. It's basic things that you can control, on your own. Attitude and just showing up with a couple of tools that'll get you really far. I mean, that was
well. I I actually think that I think you touched base on 3 points because first of all, you talk number one being the attitude.
Yep.
Second, you talked about continuously learning and really deep diving into your craft. And number three, you talked about being prepared, showing up with your tools and what you need for the job. So that's 3 quick tips that they've already gotten. And we talked about 5, but I feel like we might even get so much further into it because we're just touching the surface of this. This is just the tip of the iceberg. We're still talking stagehand and whatnot. And I think that we can actually deep dive this in. Let's talk about client relations because I feel how you come across to someone's client in terms of your appearance. Perfect. Ed Willott. I wear polo shirts and Sharpie lines clipped under the bottom. You know what's funny? I do the exact same thing. Same thing. It's being ready at moment's notice.
I mean, everybody these days, shirts aren't made of 100% cotton. We're not getting like the touring shirts that you buy from a band that's, that weighs heavy. People are wearing you're wearing these dry fit polos. I mean, Austin knows I wore a polo to every show. I didn't care if I'm setting up, tearing down, whatever it is. I wore the company polo, and that's so easy. And then if you even spring for the polos with the pens on the side there on your shoulder, you're good to go. And I know this sounds basic, right? I'm sure all my league guys are like, come on, dude, like, what are you talking? Like, relax. It's okay. You get off your horse with this. But these are basic things that I get feedback all the time from. We had to supply all these Sharpies. We had to do this. We had to do that. And it's all little things. But, there is a lot of there, even though it's hard for us sometimes to get labor, there's a lot of people that work in this industry. There is a lot. And you'll see across Facebook, Instagram, all the people out of work. So it's going to get even more competitive now, because people were off learning new things. Like I said, so to get back where we were, if you can do these couple of things, I think, like I said, the biggest one is attitude. Number one for me, that's going to get you the farthest because not only it's about that, it's how you vibe with people, but the world is sensitive now. Everybody, it's the truth, and you don't want to rub that fresh out of college the coordinator the wrong way right off the bat because they're not your boss, but they hold the keys. You know what I mean?
I think you touched on some good things though so far that I'm hoping the audience is receiving well is that, you're saying keep relevant to your skills. You're saying, purchase things that you need on a daily basis, have gear that you're going to use on a daily basis to make yourself look good, not just your client, but yourself look good on shows. But the main thing we started off with was, and right off the bat, it's the one thing I tell everybody in the industry is like, yes, you need to be skilled and have confidence, but if you're also good to be with and be around and hang out, and Austin, you've said this multiple times, you're going to get that call back more than the guy who's better than you, just because the fact that, hey, if I put you in a room and a client's going to deal with you, I don't want her to come back to me and say, oh, this guy was an asshole. Yes. Mind you, you didn't miss a cue, you didn't do a thing wrong, the room sounded fantastic, there was no feedback, no echo, no nothing, but the client just didn't like you. And that unfortunately, we in the industry get a little egotistical about some things because we spend so much time honing our craft and getting so good at our skill set and trying to be better than the other guy that our personalities and our way of thinking kind of goes to the far side. Like, hey, I'm better than this guy. I'm going to get the job. It's like, yeah, but that guy's nicer than you, so he's going to get more work.
Yeah, it's totally true. 100%. I've had to fire people just because their attitude. They didn't miss a cue. The show went flawless, but they came back and, literally said, I don't want this guy on my show ever again. He's an asshole. What went wrong? And then we say, well, what went wrong? He's just an asshole. Don't bring him back or we won't hire you again. And when it's $100,000 show, you're going to cut your losses pretty quick. Then.
Definitely.
There's plenty of people. Go ahead.
No, and I'm glad you're saying it that way because that's the truth. When I was a director, I would get more complaints about guys who did nothing wrong technically. The client just didn't like them for whatever reason. And I've also, and I'll even say this in the reverse side, I've also had clients come to me and go, hey, Omar was in this room. He had a little bit of a problem with some feedback, but it's okay. Don't worry about it. I'll deal with the client on it. We like him. And then the next year, that guy's back on the same show because the client liked that guy because he was good. He was hospitable. All the presenters said, oh, he did great. It wasn't his fault. Like when you're a likable person or a, I don't know if hospitable person is the right word, but when you're someone that people tend to like and are not attracted to, but you're just a genuine person, that they reciprocate that down to the clients. So like, yeah, you may have missed this cue or you did this wrong, but you know what? That guy was good. He was trying really hard. He was doing a lot of work.
Yep.
It's not a big deal. Don't worry. We'll look out for you. But if you're good and you're just an ass, like the clients, you tell them no all the time and, oh, we can't do that or whatever it is, they're not going to go to you and complain. And Chris, you brought me a bit of stories and complain just like, oh, that guy was just, like you said, he's just an asshole. I don't want him on my show. Mind you, technically, he didn't do anything wrong. And he was probably the best guy there, but you were an asshole, so the client didn't like you.
And usually,
but you know what you know what you just said. I'm so sorry to cut you off, Chris. It's something you just said that he was the best guy there. I feel like that alone, sometimes them knowing that, the ego takes place, and when the ego gets involved, then the client no longer comes first. And when we're no longer serving the client, then what are we here for? You see what I'm saying? And I feel like guys tend to forget that. A client could say, hey, something is happening in my room, and they'll go to that client's friend, oh, these megahertz and this, that, and the other, a whole bunch of verbiage that the client has no idea what you're talking about. And the client, huh?
Right.
They're coming to you because they have a problem and they're looking for a solution. So don't go into there with a whole bunch of blase just to get them even more confused. Be a solution, but be of service to that client continuously. And I guarantee you, if nothing else, that alone will get you repeat business, because the client will know, hey, I had an issue in my room, but Omar helped me out and Omar got it solved for me. Chris took care of this for me. And that alone, by them mentioning your name, you're going to be that, hey, you know what? Next year we have this sale going on in these dates, and I want Chris to be there again. That's how it works.
Yeah, and that is even more powerful. If the client asks for you by name, that's Chris. Chris has to call you, right? Chris, you got to be like, well, shit, they said him by name, right? Whatever your problem is with Austin, or you be like, well, the client said his name, so he's coming back. You know, I gotta put up with it.
Yeah, and that's, you know, honestly though, the other side of that is it makes my life so much easier when the client goes, I need these 4 guys on show, and they tell me, next year we're going to be here, bring these guys. My labor's already done. I don't have to worry because, you know, and I'm going to, you know, well, usually the pay is good on those shows and everything's taken care of. And like, you know, I want to go back, if it's cool with you guys, what Sean was saying about, I've been in the situation about, you know, obviously show up on time, show up early, early's on time. We, let's just say the majority, we'll call it the majority knows this, right? But what they don't understand is the one thing I can't stand is when you call me and go, where do I park? Or, and I get it. Like, I understand that sometimes those details may not come to you, but there's only a couple of places you can park. And you know, like, I've had guys that are like, well, I can't afford to pay for parking. And I totally understand that. Like, I don't want that to go the wrong way. But, you know, it's tough for us sometimes, right? And knowing where the trucks are. Ask questions. You know, if you're not getting this information from the labor coordinators, ask us, call us. I have guys that call me, and I try to find out the answers as quickly as possible. But the basic ones, you know, knowing where the elevators are, like, just ask questions when you walk into the hotel. If I'm not around, or Austin's not around, or whoever your lead is, don't just hang out in the corner and wait for somebody to come and say, hey, come with me. Like, you know, get on the phone, text somebody, call somebody, and find out the logistics of your hotel. Know your hotel, know where you're at, you know, try to find your way around. That's what getting there early is, right? Like, getting there early so you can find your way around and figure it all out. You know, like I said, I didn't mean to knock the whole I can't afford the parking thing, but most of the time that's covered anyway. So I'm not going to, you know, digress on that too much longer. But
no, but just to your point on that, I mean, listen, if you show up early, if you, like, you know, I'm military, so a lot of my mentality comes from that. If you show up 15 minutes early, that gives you time to figure those things out, kind of maneuver your way around to figure that out. If you have a problem with it, it should have been addressed with you beforehand, right? Like, yes, I understand you need the work. You didn't want to say no. I got
that's
you.
A great point.
But Chris, you would have been like, hey, okay, let's figure this out. Let's work together on it. Let's do this and that. So I want to get real quick. Rebecca J had a question, I think directed to Chris, and I haven't read it, but I'll throw it up here real quick. So what do you suggest a tech do if they come across something they don't know how to fix? Like, you're a lighting person and there's a video issue they want you to fix. You know you can't call a friend and then talk to you through the fix. Do you call the client? They're going to see you on the phone getting instructions. So what is your take on that exactly?
Oh, man. It's
tricky.
Been there, done that. Not, you know, I don't, it's tough how to answer this, right? Because
I might have an answer to that one, Chris.
all right, well, my first thing is no problem. We'll take care of it, right? Like that's my first go-to answer. But I've been there where guys try not to make it obvious, right? Like if you got to make a phone call, try to just tell the client, hey, we'll take care of it. We'll figure it out. Obviously, if it's like something in your live, that's going to be really tough if you're live in show and they ask the lighting person to fix the video or the audio guy to fix the video. So I would say just try not, my easiest basic answer, and I'll let Austin answer, would be like, try not to make it obvious, right? Because if they do see you on YouTube, I had a guy say it. He told the client, he's like, hold on, we got to Google that. Or hold on, we got to YouTube it or something like that. And I was just like, no. And then, of course, we didn't get that show ever again because they lose trust in you really quick, So I think my short answer would be to say, hey, we will take care of it. Just, give us some time in the most polite way. And then do your best to figure it out and try to, like, I guess, sneak around, get on a computer, make it look like you're doing something else to try to figure it out, and try to get the client away from whatever you're doing, and, it's true too. Like but that goes, next time, maybe learn what that problem was and be able to fix it the next time, learn a little bit of this, learn a little bit of that, because to that,
yes,
a lot of shows now, obviously audio video lighting is the last on everybody's mind in most cases, not all cases, most cases. So sometimes you're asked to octopus a show where you're lighting video and audio. And I see that a lot as a labor coordinator. I know I've asked Austin to get me guys that can do all that. And I'm sure that's a very tough thing to do, but moving forward in the industry, that's kind of getting to be what's expected. Like breakout rooms are no longer just audio, breakout rooms are turning into full small GSs, but they only want to pay for one operator, and don't get mad at me because that's just what they want to pay for. And we'll sit there and argue with them, but me speaking in terms of a company, we're not going to lose a show, because somebody doesn't want to pay extra. We're going to find the guy that can run all three of those. And as rude as that sounds, or egotistical of the company, that's just how it goes, and there are big companies that can have an A1 and A2 and A3, if that's even a thing, whatever, a stagehand that's always there. There are those shows that are nice, but you're going to run across shows where you're going to get paid the same to run the whole show, and it's very stressful, and I totally understand it. But that just goes back to learning a little bit of everything. Learn a little bit about DMX, how it works, learn a little bit about PowerPoint in the corporate world, and take it from there.
Agreed 100%. That goes back to the second thing that you were talking about, continuously learning, correct? And as you said 100%, the industry is transforming. The lighting guy has to know a little bit about audio, has to know a little bit about video, and because they're hiring all-inclusive technicians, right? So back to that question, Rebecca, one of the things that I learned about confidence is one, I know what I know. That's number one. Number two is I know who knows what I don't know. So one, I know what I know. And two is I know who knows what I don't know. And the third is that's all you really need to know. So with that, if I don't have the answer, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I give my client assurance. Rest assured that this problem will be taken care of. Second, take care of the problem. Whether you have the answer or whether you have to find someone who has the answer, the problem is let's not scream fire. Hey, oh my gosh, there's a fire here, there's a fire here. The client came to you screaming fire, 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 and you're over here screaming fire, fire. No, give them assurance and find the extinguisher. That's all it's about. A lot of times we tend to get caught up in the ego. Well, I didn't know this, I didn't know that. Well, it's our job to serve the client again. So whether we have the answer or we have to go to someone else who has the answer, the problem is we need to make sure that the client gets served with the answer at the end of the day. And that's all it's about, Rebecca.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that. It's funny, I haven't done direct labor like you guys, but as a technical point, I've been in that position before. And Maybe it's worked out for me. Maybe it hasn't. I get a lot of repeat call though, so hopefully I assume this worked out for me. I was honest. I was like, hey, listen, I'm a video engineer. I know a little bit about this stuff. Let me see what I can figure out for you real quick. And if I have to make a phone call, I'll make a phone call. I think as long as you give them the answer that, hey, I'm gonna work on this for you. Right. It's gonna take me a little bit. I may need to phone somebody. I think they're a little bit more understanding of that, but versus just like, oh, I got you, and then they see you on the phone trying to figure out. Now, again, to your point though, I think if you're, like Chris was saying, if you're going to YouTube or things like that, you're kind of showing this complete like, hey, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing right now. And hopefully I'll figure this out for you. Good luck. But it's like, hey, let me call the supervisor.
On the show.
Well, maybe, but it's like, but at the same time, he's got to learn some point, right? So it's like, let me, maybe you word it to say, there's a guy on the team for this. Give me a second. I'll help figure this out for you real fast. If you're that person in the room, hopefully, like Austin's saying, hopefully they put you in the right room. And the other thing too is, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong, because I've done this a lot of times, and I get work all the time. If your guy tells you, hey, I can't handle this room, and they're on a job site, you're either or tell me if I'm wrong, you're gonna help them out, or you're gonna say, okay, go to this room. Let's put this guy in this room. Because I've done that, or I've been to rooms like, hey, this is a lot to handle right now. Either give me somebody or swap me out. And half the time they've said, okay, we're gonna send this guy here. You go to this room, and it's worked out. And I think because of that honesty with my client that hired me, and with the people that I'm working with, I think that's why I got the call back, because I wasn't like, oh yeah, don't worry, I got this. And then I failed, and I failed not only myself as an engineer and a technician in my career, but I failed you guys because I didn't communicate that I couldn't handle that.
And I think a lot of times from a technician aspect, some of them may be afraid of the skills that they do have. They may feel like it's subpar to a lot of others. So they may not be truthful and honest and upfront with the amount of skills that they have. But it's absolutely crucial that we know and retain the amount of skills that they have so we can maximize their potential. I'm not going to put you in a position to fail. I want to put you in a position where you can succeed, and also in opportunities where you can learn. But there's a time and place for everything. So as long as you be truthful and upfront and honest with me about your skills, well, trust me, I'm going to put you in position to win. And when you win, I win, the client wins, we all win together. And that's what it's all about. But you have to let me know, what is your skill set? Where can I put you? Honestly, as cliche as it may sound, I don't want to go back to sports references, but I'm going to put Shaq right in the center of the post because I know that he can dunk that ball for me all night. But if I need somebody who can shoot a three-point, I'm not going to pass the ball to Shaq. Plain and simple. Same thing. Same concept.
And I'll add one more to that too. And again, if you guys have anything different, or maybe you have a story like, yeah, you know what, as you're saying, is I have somebody like that. I have more clients that I could think of where I was honest to the point where I said, hey, this isn't my stuff. And yeah, maybe I disappointed them for that one show, but I got more work. And the more work I got, like you're saying just now, Austin, this is why I thought about it. The more work I got, the more I noticed they were giving me little by little more and more work. There was a little more challenging. And I have a client I could think of right now who I met him as a stagehand to I moved up to a position of leadership within the company within about 3 to 4 years. And I literally met him as a stagehand, did stagehand stuff for a few shows, then did some breakout stuff for a few shows, then some GSs, and then I worked directly for this company for a couple of years. And now it's because from the get, I was just honest. I was like, hey, I can handle this, or hey, I can't handle this. And I was always communicating completely upfront. Even when I got the phone call, if it was for a show that I thought I couldn't handle, I said, hey, you know what? That seems a little bit out of my scope of knowledge. And they would say, oh, don't worry about it. I get a call a couple of days later, the next week saying, hey, well, what about this? I think you can handle this. And I continually got more and more work that way. And let me know if you guys have someone you think like, yeah, I have a guy exactly like that I think of, because I think that's another thing is the more honest you are with your labor coordinators or whoever's hiring you, your end clients, the more they're going to trust you to say, hey, you know what, if I call Omar, he's not going to bullshit me or tell me some lie and make me look bad, because he's going to tell me straight up whether he can or can't handle something. And you're going to say, you know what, I like this guy because he tells me the truth, or I like this person because they tell me the truth. And you're going to put them in more situations that challenge them more and more and more. So they become that go-to person for you a little bit more because they are honest with you and they are trustworthy. Not just someone that says, not just a yes person says, oh, I can handle this. Now, Rebecca's situation might be a little bit different where maybe somebody was put in just a bad spot, right? And maybe that's why that happened that way. But I think, and Rebecca, obviously, if we're off base here, let us know. We'll try to get back on track. But I think if you're just honest about stuff to the client speaking to you and to everybody else, I think it'll help you in the long run between your clients and your own career.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. Now, what I will add is being around a lot of companies. It all depends on the company too, man. The you can be honest and upfront with some companies, and they don't care. They just want to hire people that know what they're doing, and that's the end of it. And then there's companies that will take you under their wing and say, okay, cool, well, come on this show as a stagehand. I'll be honest with you, I can only pay you this, but show me what you're worth. And then if you prove to me what you're worth, then we'll move you up. You know what I mean? You got to have the background to prove it. You got to have the big shows. And I've got plenty of guys that have worked plenty of shows, but came into the smaller shows and freaked out and kind of failed, so it's just, it gets dependent upon the company, depending upon their culture and their values, but like, I think it doesn't matter in a sense. Like, honesty still is the best policy, and if the company's not going to treat you well and kind of help you out as you help them, then I don't think it's worth it to work for them anyway. Money's money, I get it, but at the end of the day, if you've got a good skill set, you can pretty much pick what shows you want to work on, and know that those companies have your back. And most of the good paying companies have people's back. So it just, like I said, it depends on who you're working for, and know the value of each show and stuff like that as well, right? Like, know that if I give 110 for this company, I'm going to try to take their gigs over other companies. Don't just go and run where the money is. Go where you can learn and grow. Maybe they buy some tools. Maybe they have everything you need, so you don't have to bring all your tools all the time. Just little things like that. But yeah, I mean, I agree with both you guys 100% on that. I see that Chris said that he doesn't like to fake it till you make it. I mean, dude, there's been so many times where I'm like, this was when I was in the labor side of things right from the beginning, where I had to fill calls, right? Like, I had to get it done. I got a phone call 24 hours. There's a show. We need people. And I would go off of referrals. And I would say if it was a straight referral most of the time, it would work. But then there's that one or two times where, yeah, I know how to do this. And then the clients call me right before show. I can't believe you sent me this guy. He doesn't know what he's doing, yada, yada, yada. But we could go on and on. I got plenty of stories on that side of things. But like I said, I think being honest and upfront with the labor coordinator right off the rip, or if you're on Mertz Crew, like, don't bullshit your resume on Mertz Crew. Don't a lot of the digital stuff. Put your resumes out there, put pictures out there, but then back them up when you're on show, because you're only going to get one chance. And I know I'm saying all the cliche stuff, but you guys, everyone listening knows, you're only good as your last show, and that's just how everybody's. I don't care if you're from Tampa or Orlando or wherever. Everybody knows everybody, and everybody talks about it. Everybody talks. So I know that the Google guy, we talked about him for a while.
And I even add to that, don't be one of those guys that you kind of learn something, and then it goes in your resume, because as labor guys, or even as people that are directors of companies, things like that, if I see a resume that just has a bunch of stuff on it, I'm like, okay, this guy doesn't know anything. He kind of knows all this stuff probably. Put what you're best at. Don't right. Put every, like, don't tell me every lighting console you kind of know, and every audio, and like you're, I'm a universal guy. Like, no, you're a guy that just kind of knows all this stuff. You're probably not that great at that, versus the guy who just says, hey, I could do projection, I could do video, I could do projection, LED walls, and graphics. Like, that guy, okay, he's probably good at what he does, and we'll pick him on one of those. Versus I can do all these things. It's like, all right, I'll call you when I get to that point in time.
A jack of all trades and a master of none.
Exactly.
I know plenty of guys. I know a couple of audio guys, and if they're listening, they'll know who it is. They can run audio like anything I throw at them. Here you go. Set this up, network this, whatever it is. And then, I'll find out later down the road, they're like, hey, man, by the way, just so you know, I can run a little console. I can run a little lighting console. I can't do this, but I can do a little bit of this just to I see what your shows are, what's happening with your shows. If you need me to do this, that, and the other, or what do you need me to learn a little bit more about this to be dangerous? That's the other attitude to have too. You may not like something, but you learn a little, hone one craft first,
yes, sir.
And go from there. And if you're with the same booking company for a while, you can build your career. So when it is slow for the big shows, maybe you get the smaller shows, and because maybe the lighting guy that I hired for the Nike show, he's doing, all this stuff or anything on TV. He knows a tiny bit enough about audio to where if I only have a breakout room show where there's uplights with an analog console, he can run the little baby uplights, but maybe run a couple mics up. You know what I mean? So I think just hone one craft first and get real good at it, because and then go from there.
So I want to show Sean's comment here, which, yes, if you're the EIC of the lead, you should at least be a jack of all trades because you want to be competent in those things. So thank you for addressing that. I wasn't trying to downplay anybody or any of us as well.
For sure.
But I do want to bring up what Chris Leonard said here. Don't work on a show as an A2 and then make a social media claim that you were the A1 mixed to design the show. Mm-hmm. Because like Chris was saying earlier, this is a small community. Yes, there's lots of work to do. Yes, there's a lot going on, but this is a super small community. And in this community, we all talk to each other. So there's going to be a handful of guys that see that and say, like, you didn't do that job. What are you talking about? And then you're that guy that's on a show site people are looking out for because they don't want you claiming their jobs for what you're going to post later on.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, we still got some time. I think I got
You got any more points? You got anything that these guys?
So we got to 3. I think the fourth one was just being honest with the client, right? That's a good fourth one. So the fifth one now, I guess, is what we're missing, right? So what would be like one more that either you could think of?
I think you got some nuggets, Chris. Let me know what you got there, man.
So I think my last one for this and the biggest one is I don't care as a labor coordinator who you are, and don't take it personal. I don't care what you've done, where you've been. I mean, I do to an extent, but if you're on my show site and let's say there are some people that are struggling, you got to find the time. And as long as they have a good attitude and they're willing to work and do this, I think helping others grow within your team is gonna build the brand of your personal brand. Right. And then it's also going to build the client's brand, and then it's going to reflect back to that on it, the good vibes around and all that. Cause I've had plenty of audio guys that, I used to be an audio technician. They would take me in and they brought me under their wing and I would learn, and they had the best attitude throughout the entire show, no matter what. And they didn't let me run the show, and I never expected that, but everything they were doing, they kind of took the time to explain it. And I know there's a time and a place for that. Right. But if help people out, don't shout, like, don't be like, oh, you suck, you're pushing this case the wrong way, I would have did it a little bit this way, or I would have did it this way, that way is okay, but I would do it this way. Besides all the technical stuff, like Sean, you're making great points that I could poke at, but just be nice and help the people around you, because at the end of the day, my lighting coordinators, my audio or lighting guys, A1s, A2s, all this stuff, the guys that I call to first, I ask them, who do I bring on board? Who do you want to bring with you? And let's build a team, right? Like we have the A teams, the B teams, the C teams, whatever it is. We want to build those teams together. So the A1's got his A2. And a lot of the times, if you take the time to help somebody grow, I'm going to put them on that show with you all the time. If you come to me and say, hey, I need Austin to come on this show with me, it makes my life a lot easier, and 2, you get along, the show goes smoother, and it's kind of like you guys work, everybody works together better, you know what I mean? And you don't take that risk of having to hire 35 unknown people that have never worked with each other before. If you take the time to put a good brand of yourself out there,
wow,
it'll come back around. I can guarantee you that.
Wow, that's powerful. 1, investing in your own brand, and 2, branding yourself by developing someone else. Wow, that's powerful. That is powerful, because that's a double-edged sword. It wins now and it wins in the long run. And I agree with what you said, because my concept is always each one teach one. How can we help each other? How can we help the person next to us grow? And as long as we can cultivate them and bring them within that growth environment and bring up the person next to us, we ultimately make the team so much stronger. Now, when the team is stronger, we're more efficient, which means we're getting the job done in faster time. We got more time to work on making things a little bit more neater, a little bit more precise, spending a little bit more time with the client and fine-tuning the little things that take you from just being average, or from mediocre to average, and from average to good, and from good to great. It's
Right.
the little things that we don't pay attention to. Developing the people that are next to us. I love it. I absolutely love that one, and
I
I feel
mean,
that's gold.
yeah, I mean, you can, you don't necessarily need to train somebody the way that you do things, but what's best for the client, what's best for that piece of gear, how that gear operates at optimum levels, stuff like that. Because I think if you start doing it the way like, hey, this is how I do things, that's definitely a negative for me. Because I was a director as well, and I always felt like in training, like there's a million ways to do things. They're not all wrong, and your way is not always the right way. It may be a way to do things, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the only way to do things, right? And there are certain things that there is one way or two ways to do it. But I feel like if you teach that, hey, wow, I didn't think of that, or that's a great way to do that, or anything like, along those lines, you're gonna get better response from an 18-hour day going back to the hotel and waking up 4 hours later. You're going to get a better response out of your A2, knowing if your A2 knows that you trust them, and knows that you trust their creativity to find a new way to do things. Or, yeah, I mean, that's really what it is, and I believe in that 100%. And I hate it when we go through these trainings or somebody builds something really cool. And me as a director, whatever it is, fabricating a new cart for truss base or fabricating this, that, and the other, and it might not be it might not have been the way that I wanted it or the way that I envisioned it. Let's say wanted, it's kind of I don't want to say that, but it works, and it works
It's effective.
and it works well, and it gets the job done. Don't care. Don't if as long as it's working and it's up to the spec that you need it to be, it doesn't matter how you get there. As long as it's on time, delivered on time, and it works and it's effective, it shouldn't matter how that person got there. Maybe learn from them. Maybe you can learn something from the A2. You know what I mean? Have that open mindset, and I think that'll go very far. And I'm sure there's plenty of guys that have been in the business for a long time and do it one way. In my job now, there's plenty of that, but I kind of look at them and go, well, teach me your way, so next time I can do that. And I can put my way and your way together. Maybe we can figure something out better or faster or stronger, and that's, I think that's one of the great ones, that a lot of the older generation, they kind of live off that one way to do things, and it's just not enjoyable. Like Sean said, enjoy work. I mean, dude, we're on these big show sites. We all get to travel around. I mean, the normal 9 to 5 or city worker, they don't get to see as many cities, and we're getting paid to go there. We're getting paid for our hotels, flights, food, all that kind of stuff. And don't lose sight of that. You made that happen, right? Yes, the company got the client wants the labor, but your skill set, and I think these top 5 things, you be proud of that kind of stuff, and especially how you look as well. Like, I mean, I keep bringing it back to Shawnee. Is great tips there. It's like, don't show up to work with, come clean cut, man, especially corporate,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
because
Propriety goes a long way, man. And the way your appearance is, from the way that you're dressed to the way that your breath smells, to the way that you smell, to the way that you carry yourself. There's been guys who came in who smells like a straight up dispensary. There's guys who come in who smells like they came straight from the bar for breakfast. There's so many different things that come across that you see across the industry, but your propriety is professionalism. This is your brand.
Right, like the branding, we go back to say, and at my last job, one of the things as a labor coordinator, I was told, and people get all upset about it, and I learned not to care, but we would never hire anybody that smoked cigarettes. I don't care, cigarettes, weed, whatever it was. If you smoked, especially cigarettes, that was number one, is you're not getting an A2 position, which means you're probably not getting an A1 position either. Because you can't have that,
The 15 cigarette breaks a day.
Oh, and that goes to that too. It's like, I don't want to deal with that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to deal with, I have to have a cigarette, or you're geeking out on the corner because the session went longer than normal. I'm not going to stop the session and potentially lose a client over somebody that has a habit.
Because you need a cigarette.
Right. I mean, it's bad. It's nasty for everybody. It's just one of those things. Or like you said, like, hygiene is a big player in corporate world. The rock and roll shows are a thing of the past, even nowadays. Like look at all the concerts that have backstage. No, it's a dry state backstage, no smoking, no drinking. Like a lot of things are a lot cleaner nowadays. It's not like the old days. And I can tell you on the corporate shows, we're not partying. We're working our asses off.
Liabilities, bro. Liabilities.
Right.
So
we had a comment there from Jay.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're about 4 minutes out. I'd like to wrap up the comments with Jay's, who I thought was perfect for this. The number one tip, and I totally agree with this. And Austin saw it. And I think you're on the same page as me.
100%.
So number one tip: just work hard. Literally, that's like, if you could wrap up this whole conversation, right? Just work hard. When you finish a task, ask what's next. That's the biggest thing I think anybody could do. That everybody will literally recognize you as being that guy, and they'll want you on every show if you do that simple thing as ask what's next. Guys that are willing to jump in and help with whatever is needed are the ones that get the call for the next show. No one is too good for any job. That I think is a perfect way to wrap up this entire segment. I love what he said there. It literally, everything we've said there is conveyed perfectly. Just work hard, be honest, be a go-to guy, be a reliable person, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
Perfect message.
It does definitely. It is. I mean, that's the thing. Even everyday life, you should kind of be that way at any job you do. But if you're on show side and your job is, we kind of like, that was one of the things at my last job that it was like, hey, I would call you as an A1. We were, one family, or what was it? One team, one dream. And, on our show sites, the A1s, the L1s, and the V1s all did drape. They all, at the end of the day, like, okay, maybe there was nothing left, but then they went around and tightened up the show, and you would see gaff tape getting put down by, nobody was like, okay, my lighting ring's done, so I'm leaving. If you did that and we hired you off a referral and you did that, you probably didn't get a call back, because at the end of the day, it's not that whole mentality of I only do this. I think that's gone out the window. I think there's still companies
egos have to go. They gotta go.
Please.
On the big level,
the team.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, I see the time there, but on the big level, sure, there's going to be shows where you're able to white glove. There's going to be shows where you'll get those shows. But at the end of the day, if you really think about it and you can help out, I'm going to call you as a labor guy. I'm going to call that guy and say, well, look, I don't have a gig for you on this show except stagehand, and I know it sucks, but I'm going to pay you the same rate as I did as you were in L1, because I can trust that you're going to help and jump in and get all the stuff done. And that's what made a lot of the show successful at my last job.
Yes, sir.
What was that? We all kind of did a lot of things, but that also gave us, a core group of people that always went to all the shows and got to travel around. So yeah, I do think that's a great point that Jay made, and just get in there and hustle, and you're not just a lighting guy. If you are, then
you're a part of the team. And right. Once we 100%. All come together as that one team, and that team comes together and we focus on the execution of that one goal, we'll win every single time. And once that team can get it done, we'll call the same team next time.
Every
hell
time.
Yeah.
Austin, all the times I'll be like, hey, we'll ask people on site, like, what's that person's name, and not because we're going to call them and go around the labor company. I'm going to call Austin back and say, hey, bring back these 5 guys. Here's their names. I want.
And that's what we want. That's what we want at the end of the day. How do you get yourself called back? This is about creating repeat business for yourself, for your client, because as you create that satisfaction for yourself, you do the same thing for your client. So, Omar, I know you got some closing words.
Well, yeah. So before we get there, Chris, before we let you go, do you have any final words you want to say to the audience out there? Also, we had some great responses about what you said, and they appreciate. Ed said he appreciates your honesty. Sean, great job, guys. Again, Sean touched down with what we were saying here. If you had one final thing you could say to the audience before we let you go, what would that be?
I would just say, be honest, and like Jay said, just work hard, man, because the money is good when it's there. The money's good, and if you work hard, you'll see it come back tenfold.
Yes, sir.
100%. So, Chris, thank you for being here. I'll let you go. I know you got other things to do. I'm sure you got a call coming in right now while you're waiting with talking with us. And then Austin and me, we'll wrap this up, and we'll talk to you a little later tonight.
All right, guys.
Thanks for having me on. Absolute pleasure. Good seeing you again, Chris. Take care.
You guys. Hopefully, see you guys soon in the flesh there. So take it easy.
Definitely. You too.
Bye-bye.
Awesome, man. So this was your brainchild. This was an awesome session. I learned a lot. I was very happy with the honesty, right? Just the truthfulness of everything that came out of that conversation. So this was a great topic that you came up with, that you pulled off together with me.
I was extremely happy to have Chris on board tonight with it. Like we said, we needed someone on the inside to give the technicians, like, well, it's cool that I want to apply, I want to get a job. How do I get on with this company? But we want to know, when you do get on, how can we stay on? How can you brand yourself, make an impact, and make a difference? And that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
And I think that aligned perfectly with the messages that we always say, and it's coming better from somebody who does this as a full-time job, who's known for this, right? That, hey, we're guys who work in the industry, we're professionals, we do this for a long time, we make good money doing this, but it's not just our skill sets, it's our personalities to get us a job.
Yes,
and Chris,
sir.
without us saying anything, like the audience knows, this is all off the cuff. We do this from the heart. We don't pre-plan anything. We could bring Chris back in here and say, yeah, we literally had a conversation today for like 2 seconds about how do I get on? What do I do for linking in?
Yep. Oh, by the way, this is how you sign on.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and clear myself, Austin. I'll let you close off tonight, talk to the community, and do your thing, brother. All right. And then once we get close at that, we'll just we'll end it for the night.
I don't really have anything much more to say, but I do want to let you guys know that take all of the notes from everything that you were told tonight. Take these things, take heed, practice them, share them with someone, and together we can all grow. Like I said, once we focus on working together as a team and executing the same mission, we can all accomplish our goals and dreams together. And that's what it's all about. Getting your repeat business, helping your client build their business, helping you build your business, and together we'll all make money and take care of our families. That's what it's about at the end of the day, right? You guys, it was an absolute pleasure sharing this with you. I hope you guys got some valuable nuggets out of it, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Take care.